Hey, welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite self-development stories about my life, and it's about how I went from working as a dishwasher just over a year and a half ago to working at a startup as a software engineer part-time. So I hope you guys enjoy it. But before we start, I just want to mention that I did this all as a student, so I didn't have any financial pressures on me to, put bread on the table or anything. So I just want to acknowledge that there are people that work these jobs and they don't have the luxury or the time to afford to just come out and work on their skills to, grow their career and take big risks. So I just want to acknowledge that before we start. Alright, so let's get into this year and a half long journey. So basically in early February of just a year and a half ago, I was working as a dishwasher at a local restaurant franchise. So if you're Canadian, you've probably heard of it. It's called Boston Pizza, and it's a super popular restaurant around in Canada. So I was working as a dishwasher, getting paid minimum wage. For students, this was $13.15 per hour in Canadian dollars. So for the Americans watching, that's about $10 American per hour. But you get the point. I was a student working minimum wage at a dishwasher job on weekends and late nights. And this was actually the first job that I ever worked. So this was my first job that I got as a student, so I could stop asking my parents for money whenever I wanted to go out with my friends or whatever I wanted to do, right? So it was just for like some extra pocket change here and there. But after a couple months working at Boston Pizza, I started getting shifts for like school nights, so Sunday nights, Super Bowl night, and I'd be working until like 2 or 3 a.m. on school nights. And this was really getting in the way of my studies and my assignments and grades, which were, to me, much more important. So I gave my notice and I quit after a couple months at Boston Pizza. I didn't do anything for a couple months after that, but then, once again, the money in my bank account was just hitting flat zero, and I was starting to ask my parents every time I wanted to go out, so I had to think of something new to do. So next thing I did was I became a lifeguard because it's actually a really popular job for youth. And so I got my lifeguard certifications. So in Canada, that's your National Lifeguard NL certification. And it's given by the Life Saving Society of Canada. And I got my CPR certifications and I got my first aid. So everything was set. I started applying to jobs, and within a couple of weeks, I got a job at Canada's Wonderland, which is Canada's basically largest amusement park. But one thing that's super key about this story is that through all this, like even as a dishwasher, I was coding and I was learning new programming languages, and I was making side projects that I put on the App Store. So I'm gonna put the link to my App Store page if you wanna see what I made. And I was just doing this alongside school and alongside work like this entire time. So keep that in mind for the parts of the story that are gonna come up. In particular, I was working a lot on games, and after working on games and releasing some games on the App Store, I was learning iOS development with Swift, and I was doing this on the side, right? So what happened was, after a couple months of working as a lifeguard, I quit my job as a lifeguard, and I started just working on my own startup, my own fitness startup, during the summer, and I made an app called X Fitness, which can be viewed, of course. I have a trailer for it on my YouTube channel. You guys can view that there. You also can go down to the description. I'll put a link to it. So I made this like fitness platform for like workouts and finding, customized workouts. And this is what I did for the entire summer. And unfortunately, the thing was that, I was a young, naive kid releasing apps, and I thought that, hey, my first startup, it's bound to go amazing. And I released it, and I just, I waited, and I just see like no growth in my app at all in this fitness platform that I made. So, I was pretty sad for a while, but it's natural, right? You gotta learn, and you gotta improve. So what I did was I started emailing people, right? I started looking up top startups in Canada and Toronto, and I started emailing executives to see, hey, can I get some advice from you, right? Like, I'm a young kid, I just made these, these platforms, and can I just, kind of get your perspective on why you think my project might or might not be working? And to my surprise, and I'll never forget this, I emailed one of the executives at one of Toronto's newest, then newest, and one of the fastest growing startups in Toronto, and I'll never forget because not only did he email me back, right, because I'm just some random kid that I just emailed him out of the blue, right? But he invited me down to his downtown office, which was gorgeous, right? And he was generous enough to spend a half an hour with me. So this super busy executive just spent half an hour of his time with me to look over my app and tell me everything that, he thought was could have been done better, and what he thought I could do with my marketing to actually make the project grow. But the story changes here, because right when I thought that the chat was over and he helped me and I thanked him, he said something that would essentially change the path or like, you know, my career as I knew it. He offered me an internship at his company for the winter as an iOS developer intern because he saw my app on iOS and he's like, wow, you know, you're a kid and you made this entire platform by yourself. So he offered me an internship at his company. So fast forward a couple months, it's winter time, and I'm spending the entire my winter break with him in his company, and I'm working as an iOS developer on their iOS developer team, right, as an intern. So this was amazing. I learned how to work in a team. I learned how to, use the tools that people are using and write some industry compliant code, because you're a young kid, you just write really bad code sometimes. So I really improved with my skills, and once the internship finished, I thanked him for the opportunity, and I just, I went back home. But right now, like, this just fueled my passion, right? This just fueled my programming hobby, and I just went at it harder and harder and harder on my free time. So I spent the springtime just, studying, working on my own code, working on my own apps. And the second turning point of the story just came when I was chilling one day in my room and I was just, reading a book or whatever, and I get an email and it's from my principal from school. And she forwards me a link, and it's an application to Microsoft. And Microsoft in Ontario, which is, the province of Ontario, it's like a state in the US. Microsoft was hosting their second annual high school internship program where they would pick 6 students from Ontario to just work at their Canada head office as an intern for the summer. So the thing was, like, I never thought that I'd work at Microsoft, right? And I'm kind of hinting at what's gonna happen next, because Microsoft's such like a huge company, and I was like, yo, like, no way I'm gonna get this, right? But she sent me the application. I'm like, yo, it's my principal. I have to apply to this, right? So it turns out when you have industry experience as a high schooler, right, because remember my internship from before, it turns out that makes you really competitive in an applicant pool of just high schoolers that have just, made their own side projects so far. So I'm fortunate enough to say that when I applied, I got to the interview stage, and then after the interview stage, I was actually offered a part of the 6 students from Ontario that were chosen to work at Microsoft for their high school internship program in the summer. And I made an entire video on this. Like, I'm gonna put it right here so you can watch it. I made an entire video on my experience, but it's like a short video, kind of like a fun artsy style video. You guys can watch that. It was amazing. Like, that was probably one of my favorite experiences like in my life so far, just working at Microsoft as an intern. And I'm so fortunate for the events that happened before it, the internship that happened before it, that just helped propel my career and be able to have the credentials to compete and get this internship at Microsoft. So, the spring passes, summer passes, I finished my internship up at Microsoft, and now I have 2 internships under my belt, right? So with 2 internships under your belt, one at Microsoft, and I'm going into university now, basically it wasn't that hard for me to get, just apply to some startups and get a software engineering role part-time at a startup, which I'm doing right now. I'm just helping out with web development using the Mern stack. If you guys, you're techie and you know about it. So yeah, I'm just helping out with a startup, on their web app development right now as a software engineer. So that is basically how I went as, a dishwasher just over a year and a half ago to, becoming an intern on iOS and an intern at Microsoft, and now, getting a normal software engineering role, working part-time at a startup. And honestly, it's been an amazing journey for me. But the thing is, looking back, I can definitely say that the first internship is what catalyzed this entire journey. And the Microsoft internship is what really helped add to my credentials and launch me in this career path that I chose. But the thing is that I kind of ask myself sometimes, like, Kevin, was I just lucky to, have gotten that first internship? Was I lucky to have gotten that first reply from the executive at the startup, right? Because that's what kind of started this entire thing. And although I think about this, one of my favorite quotes is this famous quote that says, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? I was definitely lucky to have gotten that, first reply from the executive at the startup. But the thing is that I created the opportunities for myself. I put in the work, I made the app, right? And I emailed people. So like I emailed a lot of people as well. So I was lucky to get that response. But if you knew me from before, like, I've been programming and creating apps and software since I was 12 years old with Python, C#, games, like anything you can imagine. I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. I was 9 years old when I was installing, fresh operating systems and drivers and fixing my mom's laptop, my dad's laptop. So if you know me, like, I have like years, almost a decade now worth of just computer and programming experience under my belt, at such a young age. So while these events took place over a year and a half worth of time, there's years and years upon which I had to learn and tinker to get these opportunities and to not only just get them, but to also succeed at them, right? because if I got these opportunities and I couldn't actually fulfill my tasks and do the work that I had to do, then it would all come crashing down on me really quickly, and I wouldn't be able to keep on continuing in this career path, right? You can talk the talk, but I was definitely able to walk the walk because I came there and I showed up and I worked and I got the tasks completed and more in the roles that were assigned to me. So honestly, that's all, guys. Let me know what you think of this video. I hope it resonated with you guys. It's honestly one of my favorite stories. Just, you know, first job, dishwasher, year and a half later, you're a software engineer, right? But, you know, once you watch the video, you're like, yo, this kind of makes sense. This isn't just some story where it's just, you know, a bunch of random events. Now you're this inexperienced software engineer. I really have been learning since a really young age, and I hope this makes sense for you guys. I hope this kind of, you know, inspires people to just get in that field, because it's a really fun field. It's a really interesting field. So many cool things to be made. So subscribe for new stories. This isn't like a tech channel, but it's kind of a me channel. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Basically, also tell me what you think about this new setup that I have, because this is new. I just painted my walls. So let me know about everything, and take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.